K-State football upsets Tech.
We look ahead to TCU's visit to Manhattan.
K-State men's basketball starts season with a loss.
While the women open with back-to-back wins.
The Manhattan High football and soccer teams make history.
Plus, our weekly game picks.
And finally, Cuddle's picks. His claw got in me. All right,
Okay.
let's get it all.
Now we can do the real show.
Cats. Throw that frozen pizza in the oven and slip into those sweatpants. It's episode 3 of The Bench, sponsored by the good people of BriggsAuto.com and Commerce Bank. I am Brady Bowman.
I'm Jeremy Roberts.
And we have so many good things to talk about. And let's just start at the beginning with K-State's win on the road against number 25, Texas Tech. They won 49-26. We talked about this game last week. We thought it'd be a little closer than that. And I'm sure everybody thought it'd be a little closer than that, but another blowout for K-State.
Yeah, we both picked K-State to win in that game, so we made correct picks in that game.
We made correct picks.
Which K-State was not favored in that game either. So we picked against the spread and for them to win. So that was a big win for both of us, but and the team in terms of picks. But what surprised me about this win so much was the fashion that they won it. They're on the road in a hostile environment by the players on a mission, in a ranked opponent nonetheless. And they just steamrolled them.
It was not a contest. If it was a contest, it was maybe one for the first 5 minutes. Texas Tech got a 7-3 lead. I think it was a 10-3 lead at one point. But Kansas State really came alive. I think the thing that I take away from it most is just that for the third week in a row, K-State, who started off 0-3 in conference play, have played the last 3 games the best they played all season.
See, what's interesting about that is Texas Tech has lost their last 3 games, and they probably played their worst 3 football games of the season.
Right.
And with K-State doing so well in their last 3, it's like they've switched personalities. It makes you wonder if this K-State team had played this way earlier in the season, where would they be now?
But I think that's the great thing about this team is that, this is a classic case of Bill Snyder coaching where he takes something that wasn't very good at the beginning of the year and just coaches them up game by game. There's no way this team could have been this team in week 1 because they simply did not have the experience. And plus, this could have been a K-State team that simply kind of needed some humility after the way last season went. I mean, even though they were beat by Baylor and it took them out of a national title game that they would have been matched up against Notre Dame and likely would have won and national champions, that they got to be taken down to earth a little bit. It was a very humbling experience, that week 1 loss in North Dakota State. And I think it's all Bill Snyder just coaching these guys to understand that you're not last year's team at all. There's so many new faces, and you're gonna have to start from ground zero, just like that team did. And I think we're just seeing another excellent job by Bill Snyder.
That's interesting you say that because I've heard some people say, and I would tend to agree with this, that this year's team is a better coaching job than that team last year that only lost 2 games after the bowl game. And that won a conference championship, this team was a better overall coaching job. And that's saying a lot considering that they've lost to a FCS opponent and they started on a 3-game losing streak in conference play.
Yeah, this is a team that they're going places. I mean, I think you and I were just kind of joking about it a couple weeks ago, talking about how, what if this team ended up 8-4? What a crazy story that would be. But we'd always kind of look ahead to Texas Tech in the game against Oklahoma and be like, I don't know if we're really comfortable making that sort of claim yet. But now after the way K-State has played the last 3 games, now I think you can make that case that this is a team that could possibly finish 8-4. And probably, if there was an award for improving your team from game 1 to the last game you played, I think K-State would win.
It's called Coach of the Year.
Exactly. He should be up there. I mean, honestly. I mean, considering how badly this team started.
Yeah, but that's not how it works usually. Because K-State won the Big 12 championship last year, so some would say they would have had some expectations.
Well, I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, it's a long shot, but I think...
And the way the players were talking this year when they came into the season, you talked about humility. I felt like they kind of were like, we're better than this, before the season even started. They just thought they were going to cruise control through the season off last season's momentum. And they forgot they didn't have momentum at the end of last season because they went 2-1 in their last 3 games.
Right, and so many of the wins just always came so easily. Of course, granted, there was those games. I mean, we think back to weak showings in the first game of the season. We just talked about a team last year that made a national title run, but we forget that the season before, K-State struggled to beat Western Kentucky. Yeah. Struggled. They won that game on a last-minute touchdown by Colin Klein. That's a team that started out very in a very tough way. Started out without a lot of confidence, and that confidence got built up and built up. They played better and better, and then a season later, they're ranked number 1 in the country. This could be that type of team that we have now. That 3 years in the future, we're looking back saying, this was a great team, started tough, but they finished strong.
I've been saying that all year, that I thought this team, to me, reminded me of the 2001 K-State team that had a 6-6 season with two quarterbacks. And then the following year, they still had 2, but they eventually kind of shifted to the running quarterback, El Roberson. You might remember him.
I do.
And a young running back named Darren Sproles. And they just rolled everyone. They had lost 2 games that year, and it was very similar to the season that K-State had last year.
Right. I think the thing you can always take away from it is never count out what Bill Snyder can do. It can be a struggle at the beginning of the season, but at the end of the year, he'll have them toughened up. And 1 game away from bowl eligibility, which is key. You just talked about a team that went 6-6. Well, this K-State team is a game away from that, and you look at the games they have coming up on the schedule with KU, TCU, and Oklahoma, you got to think they can get more than 6 wins out of that 3-game stretch.
Yeah, well, they can't quit, right?
No, or never quit.
And speaking of that, Texas Tech, they just a quick little footnote here. They had these interesting uniform variations. I don't know if it was part of a program for the Wounded Soldier thing or whatever they do, but they all said never quit, right?
Right.
Never quit on the back of their uniforms. And boy, were there times when it looked like maybe some of them might have quit.
In the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've never been a fan of that stuff. That's where Bill Snyder has it where it counts. Is that he always gets a lot of flack from people saying that, it's the same boring uniform every year, and it never makes any uniform alterations. Although 2 weeks ago against West Virginia, wasn't that against West Virginia?
Iowa State.
Yeah, that's right. 2 weeks ago against Iowa State, he kind of did a little camo thing in the Power Cat, and they had some camo Under Armour. Everybody in the world was shocked by that, but that's the most extreme it's ever going to get. Yeah. That's the craziest the K-State uniforms will ever get. So, Snyder doesn't care about that stuff. He cares about winning football games. Not that it's wrong for Texas Tech to do it. I mean, do what you want to do.
The question is, do uniforms help you win football games?
No, no, they don't win. No, not at all.
Tell that to Oregon, who's getting all the recruits because they look cool.
Yeah, but they change their uniforms so often, it's not like they're ever changing their uniforms.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
When you expect a changed uniform every week, that's like not... Nobody during the season in Oregon, it's game day, they see the uniforms out on the field for the first time. Nobody screams out of the stadium, "Oh my God, they changed their uniforms!" No, it's like, yeah, we figured it'd be different this week. It's the same thing.
No, they actually have a release early in the year where they say what uniforms they're wearing the whole year, so fans can dress appropriately.
Yeah, it's never a surprise.
Because at K-State, they just always wear purple.
It's never a surprise.
In Oregon, you have to decide whether you wear green or yellow.
No, I understand that they make a lot of changes. That's the point. They make a lot of changes, but with Texas Tech, if you are going to really bust out and do something crazy for a week and really try and turn heads, you don't want those turn heads all looking at you, and then you're losing by 3 touchdowns on the scoreboard.
And it says never quit on the back of your uniform.
Right. It's just, that is delicious irony.
Well, moving ahead, Texas Christian University, TCU as you call them, is
most people do.
is visiting. Well, that's their official name, Texas Christian.
You call them what you want. It's a free country.
Yeah, the Horned Frogs. We'll stick with that. They are visiting Manhattan, Kansas. This will be their 4th time ever in Manhattan, ever in history. They played a long, long time ago, not in Bill Snyder's time here. K-State actually has a 2-1 record in Manhattan. But none of that matters now because that was a long time ago. So my question is, this 4-6 team that's 2-5 in conference play, how does K-State match up against this team?
I think they match up pretty well. This is a team in TCU that's very injured at pretty much every key position, especially offensively, that you can think of. And, it's here in Manhattan. K-State won that game on the road. It was close and physical game. Snyder and a lot of players have said that was one of the more physical games they've played, especially when it comes to conference play. And I don't expect that to be any differently here. But it just seems like it's going to take a very, very good team to take K-State out of this momentum they have right now.
Well, I have 2 things that come to mind when I think about this game. First of all, Texas Christian's defense, regardless.
See, that's why it's better to say TCU.
Regardless of who's injured, they're still playing very well. Their defense is, their offense, quarterback issues we know, but their defense has been playing very, very well. They still are, I think, second in conference in interceptions. They're doing really well in sacks. If they're not first, so I think they're second. They're very, very good defense, and that's still going to be on the field going against this K-State offense. Now, K-State hasn't been playing defenses like that the last few games. They've been playing teams that are known for their offense or their spread out style. So, in my head, I think that you still have to worry about this game in terms of is it going to be? It's not going to be a rolling game like they've had where they just blow out opponents. The last 3 games, K-State has blown out opponents. All their close games that were within a score or less, they've lost.
Well, looking at the last few games that TCU has played, last was at Iowa State. They won that one. I think that came at the very end of the game, too. They won 21-17, and then the week before that, a loss against West Virginia. This was at TCU. They lost that one in overtime, 30-27. And before that, it was Texas, lost 30-7 there. So this is a team that's in the last, 4 games. They are 1-3 in the last 4 games. So this is a team that you they've struggled all year.
They've been in those games too.
Yeah. Their big win was 48-17 against SMU and Southeastern Louisiana 38-17. But the rest have been close. So that's nice.
That's nice for them. But if K-State gets in a close game, you got to wonder, they haven't shown that this year they're capable of winning a close game.
The games they've lost have been close games. So that is a good point. You look at all the K-State wins, they have been by very comfortable margins. Look at the closest win they have, and it looks like it was this week. That 49-26 win against Texas Tech, that was their closest win, which is crazy to think about if you saw the game. The next closest win, you have a win against Louisiana. That was 48-27. So that's a valid point. In close games, that has been K-State's Achilles heel, is the turnovers, especially in those close games. But they seem really disciplined. I feel like this is a 3-game stretch for K-State that has really helped their confidence. And I think when you have a young team and a lot of new faces, I think that's always the biggest thing to try and get.
So you think they've grown up enough from the beginning of the year till now to, if they were put in those situations from those previous games, maybe come out on top in those close games?
Right.
Okay. Well, then you would think K-State has a pretty good chance in this one then.
Oh, I think they have a very good chance in this one. Absolutely.
And if they manage to win this, you think they could probably finish out with just the whole season, not another loss?
It's possible.
Okay. All right.
Let's talk K-State hoops. 2 teams, Jeremy, that are having very different starts to the season. You have the men who lost 60-58 against Northern Colorado. The women, however, have started 2-0. Wins against Tennessee State and Charlotte, all by big margins, all at home. Let's start with the men. Not a way you want to start the season after a Big 12 title. I know some will say that, well, Bill Snyder is starting his season off with a season loss, but I don't know if Bruce Weber's right up to Bill Snyder's conversation yet, but
Well,
how do you take this opening loss for K-State, man?
oh, it's not good, but I mean, when is a loss good? The only argument I've ever heard for a good loss is, well, it woke my guys up and they played better, which maybe that's the argument you can make for K-State football this year. But the basketball team has a lot of work to do, and they're going to have a lot to prove to the fans when they face Oral Roberts this week. And depending on which way that goes, this is pre-game. If they lose 2 in a row, then you're starting to talk, maybe there's a problem.
Well, especially if it's against Oral. You don't want 2 losses out of the gate against Northern Colorado and Oral Roberts. Those aren't exactly heavy hitter programs.
Well,
especially when they're both at home.
Yeah, Northern Colorado was in the tournament last year, but they advanced exactly as far as Kansas State did last year in the tournament. Right. First round exit.
Well, hopefully not with a backboard shot like K-State did, but.
Well, the men need significant improvement. The key with this team is you got a lot of freshmen in here because these are a lot of Bruce's guys and they're young, and so we got to let them play a couple of games and see if they grow and get some traction under their feet and figure things out. So far, they showed they can play. They actually were significant contributors in that first game, but not enough to win yet. That takes time.
I think if anybody's going to have the quickest thin ice in history, it's probably going to be Bruce Weber, because people were unsure of him to begin with, and the way they lost against LaSalle, the way they started this season, that ice is starting to melt a little quicker than I'm sure Bruce Weber thought it would.
He's on a 3-game losing streak right now.
That's right. Let's talk about the women real quick. We mentioned 2-0 start. Leticia Romero, 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists in the win against Charlotte. It looks like the women could be a team, if we're going to talk about Big 12 titles again, this could be a team that should be a favorite. And I think Romero probably being a favorite as player of the year.
No, I said that last week in our preview. I thought K-State has a really good chance of winning the league this year, and man, is she good. She's been playing professional ball, unpaid, mind you, overseas.
Right.
Unpaid, but she was playing against people who have graduated from college in the States and gone over there, and these are pros playing against her, and she's defended them. And that's recently, like this summer. And now she's back, and she's in shape now. It's like conference.
Yeah, she's been playing. She's ready to go. There's been no off season for her, and she'll be fun to watch. I mean, we were commenting back and forth when we were watching your Midnight Madness footage, and watching her play. And we were watching the men play. We were watching the women play in their scrimmage.
Very different games.
The women were playing defense.
They're playing basketball.
They were. We saw Romero with the block. I mean, they looked very sharp.
She was dishing it out, trying to get assists. She wasn't just like half-heartedly throwing the ball out to teammates and like, oh, let's chuck it out, see if you hit it, no rebound, whatever. No, that's what the men were doing. The men were playing a dunk contest with no defense. The women, especially Romero, was up in people's faces. She was moving those feet. She was sweating.
It looked like right away if you went to Midnight Madness and you watched both those scrimmages, and you asked any fan as they were leaving Bramlage which team looks like it was more likely to lose its season opener, I think everybody would have said the men, because we commented on Southwest shot. There's some lazy shots. There were some lazy shots from a lot of people on the men's team, and you didn't see that with the women's team.
Yeah.
So
they didn't take the scrimmage seriously. It was a joke for fun, and that's kind of what the Midnight Madness is, but in all honesty, it's a practice. It's your first practice. That's what the whole point was.
Right. But as Snyder said in his press conference today, you want to play how you practice, and vice versa. So
that's correct.
There's some things there to see, but we'll see how
this
the season goes. Yeah. And now it's time for our featured stories, plural this time.
Yeah.
Of the week. We talked to Manhattan High football coach Joe Schartz, who just had a thrilling victory, 5 overtime playoff win against Mays. The first playoff win they've had in the first round in quite some time. Jeremy, you were on the call for that one.
Yeah.
That had to be something to see live.
No, it was a thrilling ending to that game, and no one saw it coming. The other team definitely didn't see it coming. He had a fake field goal for the extra point attempt in the fifth overtime, quintuple overtime. Yeah,
so it's fun to say.
Yeah, and there's
quintuple.
Yeah, there's no rule in high school about having to go for 2 like in college, so they could just do this all day.
Right.
So after 5, they were just like, we what's in it on this play, regardless we win or lose, and it worked.
Well, they brought out their kicker. Trujillo is out there to try to tie this thing up and take it to 6 overtime.
Trujillo needs to attempt extra point.
No, they faked it! Yes! They faked it! They went to the end zone! Oh, yeah! 60-59! They're running in the middle of the field celebrating!
And we are here with Manhattan High football coach Joe Schartz. Coach, you just had a 5 overtime victory, a massive thriller. What are your emotions now that you've had time to let that digest a little bit?
Well, to be honest with you, we've moved on to Derby, and but somebody asked earlier what the positives were of winning a 5 overtime game, and it's quite simply we get the chance to continue our quest for a state championship.
Talk about the fake extra point try. Was that something that you had planned before that 5th overtime has started, or was that like in the moment, let's do this right now sort of thing?
Well, we had some freshman coaches on the sideline, and Coach Monty Enright. He's been an official for quite a few years, and I was pretty sure that I knew that you didn't have to go for 2 in high school, but I went over there started the 3rd overtime, and I was like, Monty, it's we don't have to go for 2, right? And he's like, no. So we started talking about it as a coaching staff during the 3rd overtime, and we wanted to make sure that we did it when we went last. So it basically had to be the 5th overtime, or it could have went on all night.
We were just talking a second ago that you couldn't sleep after that game. I would figure a 5 overtime you'd be exhausted afterwards. What was it that made it so hard to sleep? We were out of that ball game. We'd actually went for it in the 4th quarter in our own territory, and it was 24-7. The one positive during the 4th quarter is that we did have the wind, and we had moved the ball when we had the wind. So we were trying to do everything we could to get in some rhythm and get some points on the board. But once it was finally all over, everybody was pretty exhilarated. And switching over to Derby and talking about Derby, how do you respond after that emotional of a game when you have that much exhilaration in it? How do you get back to kind of neutral, if you will, going in here to the 2nd round of the playoffs? Well,
I tell you, the big challenge was last week. Coming off of an emotional loss to Junction City. My seniors and this football team has done a great job every Friday night of getting prepared and playing with emotion. And I don't think this Friday night's going to be any problem as far as bringing that passion.
And talking about being able to host such an important game and coming off that emotion, you got to think the crowd's going to be fired up.
Well, I think so, and we're doing our best this week to get prepared for this opportunity that we do have, and I think it's going to be a good game.
And what is the scouting report on Derby? What should Manhattan expect?
Well, they're #1 team in the state. They're an excellent football team, and we're going to have to catch some breaks and take advantage of them. But I know that the kids are going to do their best, just like they've done all year long.
And also, we talked to Manhattan High boys soccer coach Frank Alonso. Soccer team finished 2nd in the state, and we talked with him and some players there. And we are here with the head coach of the reserve state champion Manhattan High soccer team, Frank Alonso. Frank, first off, congratulations on the state run you had. Now that it's been a few days, let everything soak in. Kind of what's your emotions now looking back on the season?
It was a surreal experience. Expectations were very, very high at the beginning of the year. I think nobody really knew how good we were going to be. Last year we graduated a lot of good players, and I think everybody thought we missed our turn. But as the season progressed, we realized that we were very, very close this year, and we went on a magical run. We had a pretty easy 1st round game, and then obviously beating Washburn, who are ranked 2 in the state, on the road, and beating them in 6 seconds was unbelievable. And then we go to Dodge City in terrible conditions and steal a game against the wind, 1-0. And then we go to Lather East in the semi-finals, and 19-0, and we've pretty much dominated them and got to the final. In the final, I think we were spent in our legs. I don't think we had much left, and Blue Valley Northwest was a deserving winner. I'd like to play that game again, but overall they deserve to win it, and we've had a great run.
talk about the Olathe East game. I mean, I talked to you right after that game. Everybody was in such great high spirits. What's that feeling, just being the underdog to shock everybody?
You know, and we spoke about that the pressure was on them. There was no pressure on us, and whoever gets that first goal usually has a huge advantage, and it showed. As soon as we scored the goal, all the pressure went on to them, and they couldn't handle it. And you know, we were comfortable winners that day. When you play with no pressure and you play for fun, it's a team that is talented can really do damage, and that's what happened Friday night. Everything went well for us, and we probably could have won by 6 or 7.
Would you say that kind of maybe reversed in the final, or maybe you guys maybe put the pressure back on you?
No, I don't think we're under pressure at all. Actually, I just think we didn't play a very deep roster for the last 2 weeks, and to play that good of teams back to back, I think our lack of depth in the final showed, and we couldn't do the things that we normally do. Pressuring the ball, we just didn't have our legs, apart from maybe 3 or 4 guys. The rest of them, we didn't play too well, to be honest. So,
nonetheless, a great way to end the season when I'm sure you weren't expected to be in that final.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of you that thinks, wow, if we had a week or a day rest, we'd be state champions right now. But the truth is, it was a magical ride, and as a coach, you can't really ask for anything more from a team. They gave 150% the whole year, and we maxed out in what we did. And at the end of the day, we didn't get the state title, but to finish in the final first time in our history is an amazing accomplishment.
And we are here with 3 Manhattan High soccer team seniors. We are here with Jonathan Turnley, Matt Leota, and Peter Meyer. First off, guys, congratulations on your run in state. Dropped in the final 2-0, but had that amazing victory the day before against Olathe East. Now that you've had a couple days for everything to kind of soak in, what's kind of your thoughts on the season now that it's over?
I think we're all really proud of a lot of things we accomplished. Of course, we would have liked to win that last game, but we made a good run. We had, beat a lot of good teams on our way there, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
I don't think a ring necessarily defines our season. We had a lot of success, and we made history together, and it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a great run. Had a lot of fun, and definitely a lot of memories. A lot of good things to look back on, and the positives definitely outweigh the negatives this year.
Looking back at the Olathe East game, I mean, that was a game that I'm not sure how many people had you guys favored in that game.
Not many.
It was quite the upset. Talk about your elation after that game. I know looking in the parking lot, you guys were going over to the stands and doing all the high fives. There's a lot of joy in the parking lot. Talk about your emotions after that game.
I mean, I think we were all just, we even shocked ourselves a little bit. We knew we could play with anybody in the state, but play so well against such a good team and really show that we were actually one of the best teams in the state was great, especially so late in the playoffs when a lot of people didn't think we were going to win.
We're a team with a lot of talent, but we showed some blue-collar ability that game. Went out, grinded it out together as a team, and getting the win against a big-ranked team in the nation like that was an incredible feeling.
Yeah, basically repeat that. I mean, there's not much else to say. It was definitely a big upset, but I had confidence in every single player that we could beat them, so felt great to get that victory, but also had to keep our cool for the next game.
Did you guys think you shocked Olathe East a little bit with how strong you came out in that first half?
Yeah, I don't think they were prepared for the effort that we put into that. I think a lot of teams see, ooh, Olathe East, this is a good team, they kind of fold, but we came out, we outworked them right at the beginning, and we shocked them.
I know it had to be bittersweet to drop it the next game. Talk about that game a little bit, and what was maybe the difference there compared to Olathe East?
Well,
I think against Olathe East, we came ready to battle. Every single guy, 1 through 18, off the bench, the starting 11, everyone was giving everything they had. By the time we got to the Blue Valley Northwest game, we weren't necessarily outgunned, but they definitely had some strength and energy off the bench that we couldn't compensate with later in the game, and that was, I think, our greatest flaw. And they're a great team, so respect to them for being able to go that deep in their bench and pull players off that just kept coming and coming at us.
Nonetheless, it has to feel good overall with the season you guys had, and to do it as seniors. Talk about that.
as seniors coming into the program as freshmen, I always dreamt about being in a final for state, and each year we kind of got the same speech when we get knocked out unexpectedly, just to keep working, to keep pushing with no regrets each year, and finally as seniors, we had that mindset to encourage those underclassmen just to fight, give it everything, and just have confidence to go in against every team knowing that we can beat them, and having that mindset each game paid off in the end to get to the final.
And talk about the coaching by Coach Alonso there in state. Obviously he got you guys to a very good spot.
Yeah, Frank did a great job, and he really knows the stuff about soccer. And some of the formation changes that we had throughout the playoffs, I think caught other teams off guard and really played to our strength and gave us the advantage in some of the tougher games.
Frank, all right. Go ahead. You had something.
Frank's he's a terrific coach. He's been here for a long time, and he definitely knows what he's doing. We wouldn't have got there without him. And, Coach Michael Lopez was also a huge asset to the team, our assistant coach.
3 seniors, 3 reserve state champions. We just talked to 3 of your seniors. I'm sure this is a group that you're going to miss.
Oh, absolutely. Not only are they very, very talented, in fact, the whole roster of seniors are very, very good students. And they were remarkable in their chemistry with the team. They realized early on that it wasn't enough for just them to be successful this year. They had to incorporate the younger guys, and they did that. We had a lot of returning starters, but we had a lot of new first-time varsity players, even though they were seniors. They put their arms around those players, and the chemistry was incredible the whole year. It was a very, very easy way to coach this team. All we had to do was steer them in the right direction, and they took care of it themselves.
Well, bittersweet to lose the final, but I'm sure that has the people that are going to be back next year very charged.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The stake has been set in the ground. Now let's see what we can do, and we will be young. And then the other part of it is too that now there's an X and R back, so that's going to be an unusual. We're usually the one trying to gun down the big boys, so this time they'll be looking at us as maybe one of their big games of the year. So yeah, the expectations are always high. We've always been a top 10, 12 program in the state, and now the expectations are higher, and we're going to have to go. So it'll be an interesting next year.
All right, it is time for game picks here on the bench. Something we have done since the beginning for the past 2 weeks.
You're doing really well.
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
It's because I'm really good at picks. I'm really good at this.
Well,
and
you don't want to jinx
you're struggling.
Yourself. If you say that, you're going to end up losing all your games.
Well, we'll see when it happens, because it hasn't been happening yet. But
first game.
Let's go ahead and get it started. Let's get my first correct pick of game picks with K-State and TCU. We always go with the K-State game, and we talk about the score as a tiebreaker. I'm going to go ahead and, of course, go with K-State. They've been playing too well. These are 2 teams going in different directions, I think, and we'll go with the score. I think the K-State offense keeps doing what it's doing. Let's go 36-17 Cats.
Same thing. 38-17 Cats. I agree with everything you said. My only concern is if K-State can't overcome the TCU defense, and it's a tight game. Because if it's a close game, then I'm worried about their chances of winning. So, next game, Big 12, Oklahoma State, who's ranked 12th, playing at number 24, Texas.
Now, this seems like a very saucy game for me to pick. You got a Texas team that's, after a terrible start that we talked about before, get themselves back undefeated in Big 12 play. They're back in the rankings. And, Oklahoma State has had games where they haven't played well either against West Virginia, for instance. Still, with that said, I feel like Oklahoma State is a team with a little bit more on the line here. I think Texas goes down for its first Big 12 loss of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same thing. I have nothing to add. That's great.
Oh, nice. All right. Let's go on to Texas Tech, a team we just played, and Baylor. And this is at Baylor, and we're going to make this our spread game. So we are going to pick against the spread. Baylor is favored 27 points, and I'm going to say they cover that quite easily.
They're a top 5 team.
They're a top 5 team, trying to hope for some things to happen to maybe get themselves a national title talk. I think Baylor wins way more than 27. I think they win by like 40.
That's a safe pick. Got to go with safe pick this time. I'm too far behind. I can't take the risk on that one.
No, that's how you try to get ahead.
No. That's how I dig myself a bigger hole. So no.
Are you sure?
I think Baylor can cover the 27. Oh man, that's a big spread. But here's my problem. I picked Oklahoma State to not cover the spread, a big spread against KU.
Oh, that's what it is.
And KU did not cover. KU got blown out worse than the spread by Oklahoma State, and that bit me last week. So I'm going to stick with Baylor.
Is that your final answer?
It is. Top 25 game of the week. Number 16, Michigan State, visiting Nebraska, who is unranked, but only has 2 losses.
Well, this is one I struggled with. I struggled with this pick because...
apparently.
Well, I pride myself on making correct picks, and as the record shows, I usually do. So, I'm going to go ahead and go with Nebraska. Even though Michigan State only has 1 loss and they're a ranked team, it is at Notre Dame is where they lost, and I'm not that impressed with Notre Dame. Nebraska, however, their 2 losses come from being at Minnesota and against UCLA, who's ranked number 13 in the country right now. I go Nebraska.
Michigan State. This is where I'm going to get my points on.
There it is.
Michigan State. Nebraska has not impressed me this year. I'm sorry. That Michigan game I watched, I just don't think they're very good. So, Michigan State.
All right, let's go ahead and finish this with our NFL game of the week. The Chiefs are off the bye, and they are at Denver. This is the game that's on everybody's radar right now.
It's the one everyone's been talking about for 9 weeks.
Who do you got?
Man, this is the hardest one to pick, isn't it? It really is. Kansas City, they're going to continue rolling. I have to do it. That defense is too good.
I'm actually with you too. Even though the Chiefs should still be with Dwayne Bowe. Of course, he got caught with marijuana.
Possession of marijuana.
Right.
For speeding 12 miles over the speed limit.
Right. And word is, though, he's not going to get any sort of ruling until probably after next week, and most likely they'll push the legalities till later. So there's a chance he might not miss anything this year. It could be something for next season. But the point is, Dwayne Bowe will be there, will be playing against Denver, and I got to think that defense is going to get to Peyton Manning so much that...
You saw he had a little bit of trouble last week, so you're thinking Kansas City as well?
Right. I'm going to call it right now. Peyton Manning is probably going to not be able to play the rest of the game.
You think he's going to get hurt?
I think he's going to get hurt right before halftime.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
And not going to come back in the second half.
Just for the sake of,
No, I don't. I'm not saying I hope he gets hurt. I'm just saying that defense is good enough that he's already had an issue that he had to get an MRI.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I hope he doesn't get hurt. But
no, I'm not.
But
I don't either. I don't either. That's how good this K-State defense is. Or excuse me, Kansas City defense is. K-State defense is pretty good too.
It's starting to be, but not anything close to this Kansas City one.
All right.
And lastly, it's that big old beast cat you love.
Everybody loves this cat. It's the fattest, most precious kitty you'll ever see. It's time for Cuddle's pick. And it's the Cats for Cuddle. And episode 3 of The Bench is in the books. We made it through it. Cuddles made it through it.
And you got a meal.
Sounds like a good time to me. For The Bench, I'm Brady Bowman.
I'm Jeremy Roberts.
Put us in, Coach!
I think, as long as I've been in the game, what I recognize so much is, sometimes that guy gets a chance. That's all he ever wanted was a chance, and he gets a chance, and he steps up and you say, wow, he played lights out. I mean, he's probably better than the guy that he replaced.
you want me to do it for everyone? Should we do that for everyone? We do that?
No.